Open your fridge right now. Don't get up. Just imagine what you see. Something cold, something sweet, maybe leftovers from last night. Yogurt that's been sitting there for a week and is still fresh. You don't even think about it. It's just food. Now imagine you have no fridge, no grocery store, no guarantee that tomorrow you'll find anything at all. This isn't imagination. This is you, 2 million years ago. And if you lived one day in that skin, you wouldn't recognize your own body. Because what you feel right now, opening the fridge at midnight, it's not random. It's the ghost of a 2 million-year-old habit. And if you walk this whole road from the beginning, you'll understand why your brain still hasn't realized that the hunt is over. Let's start at the very beginning. You wouldn't hunt. Not right away, at least. You'd follow the trail of a carcass. A lion killed an antelope at dawn, ate the best parts. Liver, heart, the meat around the belly. Then hyenas came, cracked everything they could. Ribs, skin, cartilage. By the time you reached the carcass, almost nothing was left, except the bones. Thick thigh bones that even hyena jaws couldn't break. And here you have an advantage that no one else on that plain has. Hands. Hands that can hold a rock. And a brain that figured out one simple thing. If you strike just right, that bone opens. You'd pick up a sharp stone, hit the bone, and it would crack. Inside, something gray, slippery, fatty, bone marrow. You'd eat it right there, raw, with your fingers, and in that moment, your brain would release a dose of pleasure so strong you couldn't explain why a simple bone triggers that reaction. Now you know why. Fat is the most calorie-dense food that exists. And for you, back then, every extra calorie meant one more day of life. Your brain wasn't judging taste. It was judging survival. And bone marrow got the highest score possible. You'd do this again and again, thousands of times, thousands of generations. If you came across a skull, you'd be even more excited. Inside, nearly half a kilo of pure fat, the animal's brains. For you, it wasn't horror. It was a jackpot. You'd also eat insects, grubs, termites, beetles the size of your finger. This wasn't a last resort. This was lunch. This went on, day after day, unchanged, for more than 1 million years. Then, fire. And here's where things get weird. If you tasted a piece of meat that had passed through fire for the first time in your life, your body wouldn't react like it was new food. It would react like a cheat code. Raw meat is work. Your stomach spends hours extracting something from it. Cooked meat is already half broken down chemically before it even reaches your mouth. You need less energy to get more. That sounds like a small thing. It's not. It's the most important small thing that ever happened to your species. Because all the extra energy you suddenly started saving went to one specific place. Your brain. You wouldn't notice yourself changing. No one notices evolution in the moment. It takes generations, not days. But if you could watch your species from the outside over hundreds of thousands of years, you'd see heads slowly getting bigger, foreheads straightening, something inside the skull becoming more complex. Fire didn't just keep you warm at night, it rebuilt you from the inside out. And when your brain grew, it started demanding more fuel. The brain weighs about 2% of your body, but it takes about 20% of all your energy. That meant you couldn't afford to eat leaves. You needed fatty, calorie-dense, prepared food constantly. Otherwise, your most expensive organ would starve first. So your brain made you dependent on itself. By the time you looked roughly like you do now, about 300,000 years ago, your menu had become huge. Mammoths, bison, wild horses on the plains, fish and shellfish by rivers, roots, wild grains, berries, nuts, mushrooms, eggs from nests, and honey, especially honey. If you found a wild beehive high up in a tree, you wouldn't think twice. You'd climb. Bees would sting you dozens of times. You wouldn't stop, because your brain knew something you didn't. This is the richest food you'll find for months, maybe for the whole season. Sugar gave you two things at once: energy right now and fat that your body would store for later. That fat was the only thing that would save you when food disappeared again. Dripping honeycombs were the richest food you'd ever seen. And here's the thing, that same program is running inside you right now. Your brain can't tell the difference between honey in a tree and a chocolate bar in a wrapper. The signal is identical. Rare, rich food. Grab it while you can. Modern food just took that ancient signal and turned it into a business. Soda, candy, breakfast cereals, sauces, even bread. Almost any packaged item on the shelf is sugar in a different costume. That's why you can't just stop after one piece. Your body is still trying to store fat in case food runs out again. But sugar isn't the only thing your brain got used to. If you got one large piece of meat, a whole mammoth carcass for example, it would feed an entire tribe for weeks. One successful hunt saved hundreds of hours that otherwise went into gathering berries and digging up roots. That saved time became time for something else. For raising children, for learning, for making better tools, for telling stories around the fire. That's why your brain still reacts differently to meat than to vegetables. Every craving you have today is an echo of what once kept you alive. But there's one craving we still feel embarrassed to admit. If you lived about 15,000 years ago in one specific cave in modern-day England, you'd see something you don't want to see. Skulls, carefully cleaned with stone tools, not in a hurry, thoroughly. Long bones cracked the same way you cracked antelope bones many millennia earlier. And it wasn't hunger. In that same cave, they found bones of horses, deer. There was enough food. This was something else. Something that had meaning we still don't fully understand. Your distant ancestor didn't just eat to survive. Sometimes food became a ritual that went far beyond hunger. This is the uncomfortable part of history. But it's real. And here's another thing you'd do. Something that sounds disgusting now, but was perfectly normal then. If you killed an animal, you wouldn't eat it all at once. You'd bury part of it, hide it in a cold stream, leave it in a cave for weeks, sometimes months. By the time you came back, the meat would be covered in maggots and smell rotten. You'd eat it anyway, and you might even enjoy it. Partially rotten meat is already broken down by bacteria. It's easier to chew, easier to digest. Those same bacteria produce vitamins your body needs. Your modern body still remembers this. Every time you eat cheese, yogurt, sauerkraut, drink wine or beer, you're eating controlled rot, just slowed down and made safe. Your love of cheese wasn't born in a French dairy. It was born on that same plain 100,000 years ago, when you ate something far less appetizing. Every craving you have today, for fat, for salt, for sugar, for the richest thing you can find, is still working inside you right now. Your body doesn't know about supermarkets, doesn't know about refrigerators. It knows only one rule that worked for 2 million years. Eat the rich stuff, eat the rare stuff, eat while you can. Because tomorrow, there may be nothing. And here's the strange part. If you, present-day you, were dropped into that world 50,000 years ago, you'd probably not survive a week. You wouldn't know where to find water. Half the plants around you would be a mystery. You couldn't chase down an animal, climb for honey, or crack a bone precisely enough to get to the marrow. You'd die staring at a landscape full of food you simply couldn't see. But if a person from that world were dropped into your kitchen for 1 second, they'd think they'd entered a paradise invented by gods. Cold and sweet, sealed in metal, bread baked by someone else, milk that stays fresh for weeks, fruit from places they'd never even heard of. Food you don't have to fight for, run for, wait for. This place would look like the richest place they'd ever been. For 2 million years, every human who ever lived was hungry, cold, and tired to some degree. You might be the first one who isn't. And still, at midnight, not hungry at all. You open the fridge. Because part of you, old, ancient, that survived 2 million years, still doesn't know the hunt is over. It just keeps looking.